Hello and salam everybody, welcome back to today's vlog. So this morning we woke up to some beautiful snow and I had to show you. It looks so lovely. We usually start our day with some breakfast. I've put on a cup of tea for myself, Sanaya a paratha and Noah a boiled egg. And I usually have cereal or something light for breakfast. And I definitely make sure I have breakfast if I've got a long day ahead, which I did. I had lots of cooking to do today. Today I'll be cooking Illish with hoifol or raw papaya. So I've got everything ready. I've got two pans ready as well. My fry pan and the cooking pan. So what I'm going to do first is just fry the Illish lightly. I've coated it in some turmeric and salt and I'm just lightly frying it on both sides. You don't want to go crazy and like make it crispy or anything. Just taking it out and then I've put the oil from the fry pan into the cooking pan and added a bit more oil. Now I'm just putting in some onions. Gonna lightly fry those onions first. Pop in a bit of salt. You can always adjust later. And just fry these onions until they change color slightly. Now I'm going to add in a tablespoon of ginger and garlic paste and just fry that as well. Just looking for it to change color slightly, that's all. Now it's time to add in our powder. So that's half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Half a teaspoon of curry powder. That's optional. Curry powder is optional. You don't have to add it if you don't want to. Just over half a teaspoon of coriander powder. And chili powder to your liking. So I did just over half a teaspoon. Give that a mix and let that fry. And just to stop it from burning, I'm adding a bit of water in there. So just keep adding water and mixing so you don't burn your spices. And in goes the papaya. Coat that well with the spices. Pop the lid on and let that cook for about 5 minutes on low heat. And now I'm going to add water. Pop the lid back on and let that boil again. Now that it's boiling, I think I'm just going to have a quick check of how they're cooking. They're still pretty hard. So add a bit more water and continue to boil. Now that it's boiling, I've added in some chilies, as many as you like really. Check it again, see if it's cooked or half cooked at least. Pop the lid back on and just keep checking until it's cooked really. You get the gist of it. Now that mine are perfectly cooked, I'm going to add in the fish pieces. Top it up with some more water. Put the lid on and allow that to boil, let that cook. And now you're just going to check if the papaya is fully cooked because our curry is practically ready. And this is how my curry turned out. And while I was cooking, Hubsy went out and this is how they greeted him when he came home. And now I'm going to make some Puli Pita. So what I've done is put some rice flour in a pan and I'm just toasting that slightly. Here's the coconut filling and all it is frozen coconut cooked with some sugar. I had it left over from yesterday because I made some yesterday. All I'm doing is adding in some hot water now just to make the dough. So give that a mix and keep adding water until you don't form a nice dough. Obviously you won't form the nice dough in the pan, but just enough water, just cooking it slightly. Now put it onto a surface and just mix it into a nice dough. You have to mix this while this is hot, otherwise you risk it breaking and tearing. It's really fiddly dough to work with if you don't get it right. So I'm just mixing it with some cold water If you've got the strength to do it with hot water, go ahead. And that's what my dough looked like. Now to make the fita, I'm going to roll out 2 like roti types, 2 chapatis, whatever you want to call them. Here's one. Not too thick and not too thin. If they're too thin, they'll break. If they're too thick, they'll be really gloppy in your mouth when they're cooked. So I'm making the second one. And you will need to keep flouring, otherwise they do get stuck. They do tend to get stuck a lot, really, if you're not careful. I'm just placing a glass on top, just marking where I need to put the filling. And don't put too much filling because they'll just explode and make a hot mess. Then put the second roti on top and just cut it out with the glass. And just to seal it, use a fork or whatever you want to close it shut. And just continue doing that to make all of them. I think with the filling that I had left, I made about 8 or so, but I also made about 20 the day before. So this was just the leftover. What I'm going to do is I'm going to steam them, and I'm actually going to freeze them. And then just take as many as you want out and eat them. And to steam them, I've just concocted a steamer of my own because I don't have a steamer. Pop the fita in. Try and space them because they do tend to get stuck to each other. So try and space them as well as you can. Clearly I didn't, and you'll see the result of mine. So as I was making the fita, Hubsy was fixing the table that the kids broke by jumping on. You'll see how unimpressed Noah is after getting told off for doing so. So we're sitting on Sanaya's bike. He's got one of his own, but he just likes Sanaya's a bit better. Hubsy wasn't impressed with the kids at all. So this is how my fita turned out. They did get stuck to each other, that's why they're a bit broken, but they tasted fine, which was good. So that's the end of today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.